FM.
It's the 14th day of October 2025. Good morning to you. Welcome to the morning news on 3FM 92.7. We're live from our studio here, number 35, John Hammond Street in Accra. I am Noble Crosby Annan. Coming up this morning, former NSS boss and deputy charged in a 38.4 million cedi ghost name scandal. Also, suspect arrested for extorting parents during school placement resolution. Plus, President John Dramani Mahama urges global unity as U.S. imposes 15% tariff on Ghanaian exports. We have details of these stories and a lot more coming to you shortly. Please stay with us. Let's get into the details of the stories. And former executive director of the National Service Authority, together with the deputy, Giftiowari Mensah, facing multiple charges, including stealing, causing financial loss to the state, and using public office for profit. They have been charged for allegedly orchestrating a 38.4 million cedi fraud involving ghost names and fake hire purchase loans through the National Service Authority's marketplace platform. The charge sheet filed by the Attorney General, Dr. Ayeni, on Monday, October 13, also lists 14 counts of offences, including stealing, causing financial loss to the state, and money laundering against the former executive director, Osei Esibe Entry. Now, per the charge sheet, the former NSA boss allegedly authorized payment to over 60,000 non-existent national service personnel and misappropriated public funds during his tenure between August 2021 and February 2025. Well, still on crime, some individuals who have turned the school placement resolution process into a business by extorting money from unsuspecting parents have been arrested. Deputy Coordinator for Free SHS, Dr. Belinda Glover, said the suspects were caught at the main resolution center at NAT and have since been handed over to the police. Nura Mohammed reports.
The School Placement Resolution Center is in its final week of operations and will come to a close on Friday, October 17. Since it commenced operations on September 18, scores of parents with several issues with the placement of their wards flooded the Nat Hall premises to get their issues resolved. However, recent developments have revealed some discrepancies at the Resolution Center, where some individuals were caught engaged in fraudulent activities. Deputy Coordinator at the Ghana Education Service, Dr. Belinda Glover, explained.
We are individuals, and then people find it differently to assess or handle technology. Somebody might be good at it. So I think going forward, we might have to intensify the education to the public as to how to confirm their enrollment. Some even come here, and then we have to even, after we have done the changes, we have to help them to, be able to have a look. If not, they'll go and come back again, and they keep populating the place. But the same thing, you read for somebody, the change is there, but they can't access it. So they come back, and then we have to take them through the entire processes for them to be able to even view that, yes, the change is there.
She also cited the lack of technological know-how by some parents as the major cause of the overcrowding.
We have been able to arrest some of them. In fact, they come with multiple sheets trying to do changes. The ideal thing is you can't have more than 5 children going to secondary school at the same time. So we have been able to track down those people, and then we've managed to hand some of them to the police to deal with them. So far, we have about 2 that we have handed them over to the police. We realize that these people are just collecting money from people and then coming here and using us instead to make money, even because we are here to help the public.
Some parents in their wards shared their experience.
My name is Alo Isaac Wemucho, and I'm here to help my sister get a placement for her school.
Yeah, how was the process like for you?
Well, I believe the staff, they are doing their best, and it was very smooth.
Journalists with my background, journalists are trained to doubt, so I came here with a lot of skepticism, and so I contacted the head of this place. And within minutes, the transfer was done. It was so incredible, and instantly all my doubts evaporated.
Students who still struggle with the resolution of their placement issues are advised to visit the Education Ministry even after school resumes on October 18.
Away from that, President John Dramani Mahama has called on countries that share common values and interests to unite in the face of global trade challenges. His comments come after Ghana was hit with a 15% tariff on its exports to the United States following a new trade order. The tariff impacting Ghanaian goods was introduced as part of an executive order signed by U.S. President Donald Trump on July 31 to address what it calls a national emergency due to persistent trade deficits and imbalanced trade relations. In a bilateral meeting with the Premier of the State Council of China, Li Guing, during his state visit to the People's Republic of China, President Mahama reiterated his concerns about the U.S. trade policies.
The world is changing rapidly. After the Second World War, we all agreed that we would adopt a multilateral world order. Unfortunately, some countries have decided to act unilaterally, both in terms of their relationship with other countries, but also in terms of destroying the rules-based world trade order that we all had agreed to. And so countries are slapping tariffs unilaterally on other countries. My own country, Ghana, has not been spared. We've been slapped with 15% tariffs, but I'm sure that is far less than China has been slapped with. And so it's creating a lot of confusion and unpredictability in the whole world. But this is a time that countries that have shared values must stand together. And Ghana and China have had shared values. We have voted in international organizations on the same side. And so as the world becomes more unpredictable, there's a time that countries like Ghana and China and
the voice of President John Dramani Mahama there. Now, lawyers for Professor Christopher Ameyawe-Kofi, the former board chair of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, have withdrawn their services. This was disclosed by Justice Tay, presiding judge in the SkyTrain trial. Professor Ameyawe-Kofi and the former CEO of GIIF, Solomon Asamoah, they are facing multiple charges, including causing financial loss to the state for their roles in the botched Accra SkyTrain project. Lord Edwasari reports.
When the case was called on Monday, October 13, Professor Ameyawe-Kofi notified the court that his lawyer would not be present. After being prodded by the judge, he indicated that there had been a misunderstanding between him and his counsel, a matter which he added that he was hopeful would be resolved soon. But Justice Audrey Kokuvite indicated that the court had received a letter from the lawyers stating withdrawal of their services. The case was adjourned to Monday, October 20, after Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai indicated that the defense lawyers had filed an application which needed to be moved. At the last adjourned date, the defense lawyers moved a motion which would compel the prosecution to disclose documents they argued contained minutes of board and committee meetings, exculpatory material necessary to challenge the prosecution's claim that the investment lacked the required authorization.
That application was dismissed by the courts. They have since filed an appeal and continued to file an application to stay proceedings pending that appeal. The case is back in court on Monday, October 20.
And finally, the Ghana Maritime Authority says it will continue to intensify education on the Volta Lake to ensure passenger safety. And this follows the death of some 15 people in a boat accident near Ketekrachi in the Oti region. Deputy Director General of the Ghana Maritime Authority, Mubarak Masawudu, tells 3FM the authority will make its findings public after investigations are concluded.
The boat accident occurred around 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, October 11, near Ketekrachi in the Oti region. According to the Ghana Maritime Authority, preliminary investigations suggest the boat was overloaded, far exceeding its safe operational capacity. This is not the first time boat disasters have occurred on the Volta Lake, claiming lives. for Oti Regional Minister John Kwadwo Japong. The concern has to do with the refusal of some passengers to wear life jackets while traveling on the Volta Lake.
There shouldn't be more than 10 on the boat. It carried over 24 people. None of them were putting on a life jacket. A lot of life jackets are provided, but never do you see them use it. But the situation is that it is not like when you talk about the lake, people are maybe in the towns and then they go somewhere, do their fishing and then come back. No.
And that's how we end the morning news on 3FM 92.7. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. My name is Noble Crosby Annan. I'll be back shortly with business news.
The best in the morning is on 92.7. Sunrise on 3FM.
3FM.
Hello again and welcome to the business segment on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. I'm Noble Crosby Annan. Coming up, Public Interest and Accountability Committee warns of fiscal risks as government breaches legal cap on Stabilization Fund again. We'll bring you details of its 2025 half-year report. Also, trade analyst warns Ghana could face tariff penalties as government moves to halt export of raw cocoa beans. Meanwhile, the Chamber of Agribusiness says Ghana could quadruple cocoa revenue if government halts raw bean exports and invests in local processing. We have details of these stories and a lot more coming to you shortly. Stay with us. Let's start the morning from here. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee is raising red flags over the government's continued disregard for the legal capping formula governing the Ghana Stabilization Fund. In its 2025 half-year report, PIAC cautions that the persistent breach weakens Ghana's fiscal resilience and limits the country's ability to respond to future economic shocks. There's more in the following 3 Business News Desk report.
The Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, has expressed worry over the government's persistent breach of the legal capping formula for the Ghana Stabilization Fund. In its 2025 half-year report, PIAC revealed that the government maintained a $100 million cap on the fund this year, contrary to the formula prescribed by Legislative Instrument 2381. According to the committee, a correct application of the law would have raised the cap to $584 million, providing a stronger financial cushion against future fiscal shocks. Despite this concern, the report showed improvements in Ghana's petroleum savings. The Heritage Fund recorded an 18% growth, reaching $1.3 billion, while the Stabilization Fund dropped by about 37% to $122 million due to withdrawals. Combined, both funds grew by nearly 10%, bringing total petroleum reserves to $1.42 billion in the first half of 2025. The Petroleum Holding Fund also ended the period with $94 million, comprising corporate taxes, interest, and mandatory reserves.
Moving on, international trade analyst Louis Athol has cautioned that Ghana may face tariff implications as it considers suspending the export of raw cocoa beans. The call follows remarks by Vice President Professor Jaina Nopokwajiman, who reaffirmed the government's commitment to transitioning from raw cocoa exports to building a value-added cocoa economy that empowers farmers and creates jobs. Speaking on business focus, he underscored the urgency of boosting domestic consumption of cocoa-based products to strengthen value addition and mitigate external shocks.
The issues that we have to confront with this drive is that one, now that you are going to do value addition or transformative stages, you are now going to attract international tariffs in countries that you would like to export these value added or value transformative products of not the beans but the cocoa. Because yes, so in the likes of you're going to go face to face with the likes of Netherlands. So we should brace ourselves to some of the countries that would like to export our finished product because they will slash tariffs on their competitive or value-added product, number one.
Now, meanwhile, the Chamber of Agribusiness says Ghana could nearly quadruple its revenue from cocoa if it halts the export of raw beans and invests in local processing. In an interview with Three Business, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness, Anthony Morrison, welcomed the Vice President's statement, but urged government to address the persistent challenge of raw material supply for local processors, describing it as critical to realizing the country's cocoa industrialization agenda.
So the Chamber welcomes the news from His Excellency the Vice President. Exporting value-added products to the global market will triple our export earnings, or maybe in four terms. But one of the key challenges we want the government to deliberately solve is access to raw materials to indigenous companies who in the value addition sector of the cocoa area. Is one of the key challenges we are facing. We also need to see how we can make timely credit finance available to them, and also how we can reduce some bureaucracies, especially within the cocoa sector, to make sure that in terms of driving the local content, the indigenous companies who have a very competitive and develop some comparative advantages for them to be able to have a sustainability strategy in achieving government policy.
That was the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, Anthony Morrison, speaking there. In a related development, cocoa entrepreneur Dr. Yao Mfojo has called for a review of Ghana's free zones policy as it applies to the cocoa sector, arguing that the current framework deprives the country of vital revenue from its leading export commodity. He stressed that a policy rethink is essential to safeguard national interest and enhance value retention within the domestic economy.
The value add should be relevant to us, and the export of whatever that comes out of it should be majority owned by Ghanaians, and in that respect, I want to highlight the completely ludicrous ongoing our free zones policy generally, but free zones in application to cocoa. I mean, why do we give valuable raw material of which we really are a major player away for free? Why are we so desperate? What is this? So before we even start going to what we are trying to change just generally for export, we should actually look seriously at some of the things that we are doing currently, which are really of no benefit to us.
That was cocoa entrepreneur Dr. Yao Mfojo speaking there. Now, activities in the manufacturing sector gauged by trends in the collection of direct taxes and private sector workers' contributions to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust Pension Scheme Tier 1 improved in July 2025. According to the Bank of Ghana's September 2025 Monetary Policy Report, total direct taxes collected increased by 14.8% year-on-year to 5.265 billion cedis in July 2025 relative to 4.586 billion cedis recorded in a similar period in 2024. Cumulatively, total direct taxes collected for the first 7 months of 2025 went up by 26.2% to 47.592 billion cedis from 37.702 billion cedis for the same period in 2024. Now, before we go, let's take a look at how the cedi is faring against major trading currencies and how some key commodities are also faring on the global market.
On the interbank foreign exchange market, the dollar is selling at 11 cedis 90 pesos. It lost 27 pesos. The British pound is selling at 15 cedis 87 pesos. It lost 38 pesos. The euro is selling at 13 cedis 77 pesos. It also lost 37 pesos. However, be guided that these figures could be higher at a forex bureau near you. On the global commodities market, Brent crude is trading at $63.43 per barrel, up by 62 cents. Gold is trading at $4,106 per ounce, up by $125. Cocoa is trading at $5,817 per ton, down by 26 cents.
That was a trip on the commodities market, ending the business news on 3FM 92.7. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. I'm Noble Crosby Annan. Sunrise continues from here.